Hey guys, I'm Trent. Welcome back to GuitarAnimal.com. Today I'm going to go over my video on how to do bends on the guitar, how to bend notes. You might want to have one of these tuners. If you don't have it, this is a Snark tuner. You can put it on your headstock, and as we're bending these notes, we're actually changing the note we're going to be playing. And you can see it change on the tuner, and you can follow, have I bent it far enough? Have I not bent it far enough? It's critical that when you do change a note, you bend to the note you want to hit. You don't want to go too high, or you don't want to go too low. Usually what happens is beginners bend their notes and they're a little bit flat, and it kind of sounds bad because you're flat against the rest of the band. So use a tuner on the headstock. You can watch yourself until you finally train your ear and you know that you've gotten to the note that you want to hit. All right, so that's the plug for Snark tuners. And what we're doing here is we're going to be doing what's called full bends. And what a full bend is bending a note to sound like a note 2 frets higher. So in the old days, before we had tuners, we used to play the target note. So I'm going to be bending the 8th fret here, which is a G note on the 2nd string. And I want to bend it until I hear an A note, which would be like the 10th fret on the 2nd string. So we can go ahead and play the 10th fret on the 2nd string, which is an A, and kind of get that, that note in our head. And then when I grab my G and I start bending it, keep going until you center on an A. And it sounds like the A. Now you might ask, well, if you're going to play the A, why don't you just play the A note? And if you're a jazz guy, that's what you would do. They don't bend. They play every note that they want to play. But for blues and rock, that variable pitch sounds really cool, so we do it a lot. So the way that I'm executing that, I'm using my ring finger to hold the 8th fret on the 2nd string. I'm going to put my middle finger down on the 2nd string as well, actually in the 7th fret range, behind my ring finger. The purpose of that is going to be to help push the string over. 2 fingers are easier to bend with than 1. Now I don't push down. I don't have as much downward pressure with my middle finger as I do with my ring finger, because it's not really holding a note. It's just there to help push it to the side. If you push both of them down equally hard, you will probably feel the string start to wear into the fret that you're spanning there, that 7th fret. So we don't really want that. So don't push down as hard with your middle finger, but just enough to hold the string, and we're going to push over. Also, as I'm pushing over, I'm going to get into my other strings, my 3rd string and my 4th string. If you're not busy with your index finger playing something else, you could actually just lay it on those strings so you don't hear them. That's called muting. If I was doing a riff like this, where I'm busy with my 1st finger playing in that case, the 5th fret of the 1st string, then I have to mute with the heel of my hand on the right hand. So we do really want to be concerned with all the extra noises we may be running into as we're moving these strings around. If you don't keep those quiet when you're playing loud with a band, you're going to have a lot of noise and a lot of junk coming out of the amp that you don't want to hear. We want the notes, we want the music, we don't want the noise. So pay attention to that right up front. You don't want to learn how to bend making noise and then go back and have to take it out. It's a lot harder then. So I'm holding that 8th fret, 2 strings, 2 fingers, 1 string, bending up to the A using my tuner. Now I guess it goes without saying that as you bend different strings, you will have to push different amounts to the side to get the full bend. If I was bending the same string even in different positions, if I'm bending it down here at the 3rd fret, I have to push it a lot harder because I'm near the nut, and so the feel is different than if I bend at the 8 or if I bend at the 15. So in the middle of the span of the string is much easier to push the string over than when it gets towards the ends. Because every string is a different thickness, it's a different tightness, it's going to change or ramp through notes at a different rate. We really do this and control it by listening to it, by sound. Have I attained the note that I want to attain? And that's something you have to learn over time. So again, I strongly recommend using your guitar tuner until you get this down to where you can hear when you've attained the full bend. There's several different ways I could do this. I can just do a full bend, and that's it. I can do a full bend with vibrato. I can do a full bend and return to pitch, which is nice. I can do a full bend, return to pitch, and then back to full again. Or do that with vibrato. Now I blasted through quite a few of those. If you go to GuitarAnimal.com, I have a tab sheet available for this. You can see what each one looks like. I recommend for you beginners who have never done bends, just focus on doing a full bend, Don't worry on trying to apply any of the other things, returning to pitch or vibrato or anything like that. Just focus on trying to get the full bend in tune. I also scored some a little higher on the neck. We're up here on the D note, which is played on the 15th fret of the 2nd string. And I was doing the same thing. Full bend with vibrato, bend and return to pitch, bend and return to pitch, vibrato, or bend and return and back up. Just to give you kind of a different feel. Down here, more of in the A position. Up here at the 12th fret, more in the E position. Not that you couldn't play other scales in those positions, but those are the most basic when you're playing pentatonic scales. The last one that I have for you is a little bit different. It's going to be a half-step bend. A half-step bend bends a note and makes it sound like a note 1 fret higher. That's called a half-step. An area that we would do that in is if we were playing, for example, an A minor pentatonic scale. I wanted to make it a blues scale. We're playing the tritone there, that D sharp or E flat. We would bend our 7th fret on the 3rd string a half step. So again, play your target note. And bend it a half step. Now, a half step is half as far note-wise, but it's not half as much pushing it to the side when you're bending it. It's a half step is about 3/4 of the way, and then once it starts tightening, the string starts tightening, it starts ramping through the notes quicker. So we get to our whole step without having to push twice as far as a half step. So again, use your ears and use your tuner as a guide for did I get to the note that I wanted to get to. All right, so that's a half step bend. Again, target note. And I have that laid out to do just the bend, or vibrato, or return to pitch, or return to pitch and then back up with vibrato. So these are called bends. Again, you really want to keep them in tune. Make sure you bend to the note. You're not too sharp, you're not too flat, and you hit the note every time you execute the bend. It's going to sound really good. It's going to come across as the band is a lot better and you're a better lead player. It's critical that you stay in tune when you're doing your bends. Hope you're enjoying the series. Have a great day.